it.
No, I don't have a Roblox account.
Trace, are you opium?
Sad.
What?
Are
What does
you
that mean?
are you
I don't know what that
ready to
means.
start whenever you
Oh
have?
yeah.
Cool.
Um, so
Hold on.
no worries. I'm changing my my Ableton audio settings.
Swagging.
Y'all know how it is. Sorry for being so late. I was kind of
Were
I
you
was
EP?
having
Were
an
you EP?
interesting.
Enough
Huh?
asleep.
That's okay.
Were you sleeping?
You are big chillin'.
I hope you're okay, Tracy.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm a little hungover, but I'm
Oh shit.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
spirit. That's the spirit.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had quite an interesting Friday.
Damn. It's no longer Friday, so hopefully it's a better day.
Oh no, it was fine. Friday was fine. It was just very eventful, and
That's
I
fair.
forgot what day it was, so I apologize. But
You're good.
All
You're okay.
good. Um,
I
Trace lecture.
yes. So um I haven't like it's funny to imagine that this is a class. I don't know why. It's just wow. But okay, so to start off, I guess, I think it's important to talk about at least like so not to start a lecture off with some theory. I feel like it's about as basic as starting an essay with like a quote or a statistic. But I think it is very important for people to know that like I've achieved the things that I have in sound design mainly just from like well first of all the idea that like I remember there was a Flume lecture like from like a really long time ago where he was like yeah I think the best advice I could give is get one synth that is like works well for you and what you do and just use that and nothing else for like a really long time um you know get really good at that one synth before you think about getting another one and like you know listen to songs you like and practice making those sounds um just like in general like any sound that you want to recreate just try to make it and see where you get um so yeah, no, those are like some theories that I feel like I definitely applied really heavily when I started making music and started doing more sound design. Um in terms of drum synthesis, it's honestly it's sort of a similar thing. I mean like I when I was like in high school, I was super into like Jack U and stuff like that. And I don't know why I believe this, but I believe that Skrillex like I knew that Skrillex made some of his drums, but I thought that he made like all of his drums and that he was like synthing them. Um and then I just found out that like any of the drums that he did make were just really processed 909s, which honestly is still pretty impressive. Um but yeah, by then it was too late. And also Sophie, yeah, it would not be fair for me to talk about my own practice without going into how important she was to it. Because anything that I thought about Skrillex's production or like heard in legend was definitely just already the case in her music and so much more. Um, yeah, yeah. Basically taught me everything I know by not teaching me anything and just making me listen to her music until and like desperately trying to recreate her sounds until I exploded. But yeah. So I think there's a lot of talk, but I think it's important to get us all in the mood for this kind of thing. Um, so let me start. I guess we'll start with like some snare stuff because that's what I do. Um, I think it's important to know with drum synthesis specifically. Like with synths, it's kind of straightforward. Like if you want to make like a pad, you get like a MIDI, or maybe you just have your keyboard and you're just hitting the notes over and over again. And you're just listening to yourself like make it. And realistically, the only thing you need to work about this pad is whatever sound you have in your head for it, you know, or like whatever sound you think fits somewhere. Um, like say you want like a really watery pad or something like that. All you really need to do is like go in a synth and do that
We
basically.
can't see Serum, by the way.
I know. Don't worry.
Okay.
I will show you guys Serum. It's gonna be kind of annoying, and I apologize because Discord is annoying. I'm just gonna have to keep switching between entire screen sharing and the Ableton, which is, I wish it wasn't like that, but rip Mac users. But like the theory behind this is really easy, like boom, nice pad. If we want to make it soft, we can do that. Now, the thing that I think is daunting for a lot of people about making drums specifically is the fact that, like, well, usually when we look for drums, we're looking for something that we like the sound of. So, just like making a synth, but we're also looking for, at least in my case, like I'm always looking for a drum that serves a technical purpose. Like, does this kick have like the right, is it bright enough for this context? Is it dark enough for this context? Is it punchy? Is it gritty? Does it attack the way that I want it to? Does it sit in the frequency spectrum range that I want it to? Is it long enough? Is it too short? Like all this shit, all that stuff is like very important, at least to me. Which is, sort of why making drums kind of makes it easier because you can control all those things. But yeah. I mean, like the same thing with the snare too. It's like, does it have the right amount of body? Does it have, like a nice crunchy attack? Does it have like, for this context, do I want something that snaps more or smacks more? Do I want something that's a little just more like hollow or beefy? Like all these things are things that we think about, and it definitely those things can be linked to how it sounds, but not always. Or sometimes you don't even know what the fuck you want, which is the case for me for the most part. Because I just end up opening project files and feeling incomplete if I don't try to make drums, which is not a habit that I suggest people get into. But it's just something that I do. Okay, so sorry if you hear me sniffling. Yeah, so all that theory bullshit aside, I'm gonna close that out. I'm gonna change my screen share, so that you can see what I'm doing. Awesome. You can see Ableton, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, and then you can see Serum. Wait, no,
Not
you
right
can't
now.
see Serum.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry. I don't know why they hide it. Okay. There we go. That should work. Okay, and you can see Serum now, I imagine.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So, I'll just go into like a basic starter patch. This is like something that like, not to say that like I've crafted it over like many a snare, many a fortnight. Fortnight in the original sense of the word, like a period of time. But yeah, I mean like this is like a theory sort of that I've or this is like a starting like patch idea that I usually gravitate to whenever I'm making a snare in Serum. So usually I do a couple things. I will first turn down the random on my oscillator here, because the goal here is to get use an oscillator to create the body of the snare, the tonal part, and then use noise to create the crunch. About as simple as it gets in terms of snare sound design. And when you're doing that in Serum, it helps to be Well, I feel like when you do this in any synthesizer, I feel like it helps to be ergonomic about the way that you start out with it, so that you don't end up using all of your resources doing this one thing before you get to add the cool shit. So yeah, right now, basic shapes. Gonna leave it on a sine wave. I'm gonna keep the random all the way down so that it doesn't trigger the sine wave at different points in the wave every time you press a note. I want it to be consistent, and if it clicks at the start of the snare, I want it to be on my own accord. So we have that. After that, we'll use the envelope really just because of the hold mode. And turn it around like 10 milliseconds. And then, just have like a really short decay, no sustain on it. And then this will be the envelope for the body of the snare. And then I like to use alpha noise for my noise source because it is probably the crunchiest, brightest noise there is, aside from bright noise, but it's definitely like the beefiest. Yeah, and then I like to do what I like to call the elephant trunk curve in LFO1. And I just make that an envelope and then turn off the BPM so I can just like change it more effectively. Map that to the level of noise. So we have our envelopes. We have basically the shape, amplitude shape of our snare right now. And then from there, I will do, again, pretty basic. Do just like a high pass. Sometimes I'll do also a band pass, like the trap smack snare, which is the snare that like is the home switcher / willow snare source. And then also the bald snare. That snare, I think I used a band pass on it. It was kind of a very weird one because it was one of the earlier ones I've made. Actually, it was one of the first, but yeah, that one was kind of funny. But I do like to use the high pass, just so I'm not being too reductive right away. But all depends. So I know you can't hear it right now, but I'm just gonna kind of like tune it to my liking a little bit. Okay, so we have that. Oh, and then so this is a little trick that I like to do sometimes. But so like a lot of the time when I'm doing this kind of snare sound design, I'm looking for a more like trappy sort of angle on it. You know, something a little more Lex Luger and less just like stock 808. And so something that I like to do is map the LFO of the amplitude envelope of the noise. Map the amplitude LFO of the noise to the pitch so that you can pitch it down over the time and it degrades the sample quality because the noise in Serum is really just a glorified sampler, which is great because you can also you can load your own noise sources and stuff like that, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, like it just kind of gives it like a lossy quality, which I think is important if you want to recreate like trap and like hip hop drum sound design. The most important thing to remember is the fact that like a lot of these samples got the way that they were because they just like exchanged so many hands over like decades, and of like going through different audio sources, coming in and out of different things, getting a bunch of different processing on them all the time and shit like that. So yeah, yeah, I think it's fun to think about it from that perspective and try to recreate that kind of thing yourself. It's like, when you see YouTube tutorial people be like, we're just gonna slap our C20 on this and make it all lo-fi and stuff. Yeah, it's just like that. Okay, so enough of that. I don't know what I was on about, but I'm gonna change my screen again. so you can hear what I'm doing. Oh fuck. All right, that should do it. And then we have the snare we just made. And I'll send, you know what, honestly, I'll just send this patch in the chat, because I find whenever I'm teaching people this, it gets complicated. But that's fine, you know. It's not something that I don't expect, because again, we're looking at synthesis in a completely different way, I feel like, when it comes to drum synthesis. But not entirely different. And also I want to stress that it's not super difficult. It's just different. Like, it's something that does take practice and time to like develop your ear for it. But literally only because, just like regular synthesis, you know, it is, you know, it's a learned thing. And so like I urge people not to be scared to try this kind of thing. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it really isn't about like a skill gap or anything like that. You know, I do think that like the beauty of synthesizers is really the fact that like it is sort of accessible to everyone. And like if you spend enough time messing with something, you know, like synthesizers specifically, because it's not like you're ever going to be in a scenario where somebody's sitting over your shoulder while you sit at like a fucking, you know, in front of Vital, and they're just like, I want you to make 10 sounds, and if they're not good enough, then you'll never get a career. Like, you know, it's not that's not gonna happen. Synthesizers are fun and kind of niche, so it's kind of hard to get a job for being good at them. Believe me. I know from experience. But yeah, like, yeah, the fun part is the fact that like there are really no expectations. There are really no rules. It is literally, quite literally, just its own entire world that is waiting for you to mess with it. And I don't know. I just think they're really neat. But yeah, so and drum synthesis is no different. You know, it's part of that world, and it's, you know, it's an equally interesting path, and it can be rigorous and kind of annoying, but you know, like I feel like it's, you just got to make shit and you'll just kind of get there. But that's the snare. I think it sounds pretty all right. It's a pretty good basic snare. I'm gonna switch my screen once again. I realize that this is not the most ergonomic way to do this. I should have just sent like a wave file or something of it so you could have heard it. But so this is the patch we just made. I will save it. I just wanted to write something up here so I didn't forget to do that, because I like to do that. I don't like to make patches where I don't do that. I will put my name up there too. Also, feel free to like jump in and ask questions or like say things in the chat at any point, because, you know, I don't know, like I know what I know, and I'll just talk for forever about random things, but like it definitely helps if people like have specific things that they want to know.
I don't want to know anything specific. I'm just saying this has got me reinvigorated to like actually make synthesizing snares. So like,
Aw.
thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I was worried that I was worried that like there's a chance that I could just get up here and ramble, you know, and not make any sense. But, you know,
Nah,
if this
I
is cool,
feel
then I'm
like
glad to hear it.
I feel like people here are definitely taking a bunch of value out of this lesson. But anyways, I'm gonna let you continue.
Word. No, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, okay. Well, let's get into some fun stuff you can do, you know? Because like this is a great sound and all, but like what are you going to use it for? It's kind of just a snare. What if I told you, oh wait, I didn't even mess with this. I don't want it to be too harsh in this case. But what if I told you we can do some really funny stuff in Serum? I bet you didn't believe that. I'm telling you now. So this is my secret special trick. And by secret special trick, I mean it's not all that secret. It it has been known by the dubstep world for a while that the phaser does this, and I just kind of figured the flanger would too. But you can turn down the rate all the way on the flanger and the phaser in Serum, and they will stop moving like entirely, and they will just give you consistent tones. And it's pretty awesome. Admittedly, it just freezes it. And so I use that a lot to create like timbres on top of the snare, sort of like the first example is using the flanger to try to create like a chop snare type ringing on the top of a snare. I'll do that real quick. It's kind of just about dialing it in this case. I know you can't hear it yet, but
Also,
will
just
let
wanted
you.
to say,
uh-huh.
for Vital users, that would be the depth knob that completely stops it.
I forgot you can't do this stuff. A lot of this stuff in Vital as well. Vital, I don't know how to use very well, and I apologize. I have made a couple snares in Vital. They've all just kind of been shit. Um, I think it's mainly just because I'm not used to the onboard effects suite there. Yeah, good synthesizer though. I have made some crazy shit that I can't do in Serum for the most part there. Very fun. But yeah, so we have this. I'll let you guys hear that. Just, you know, fuck you. There we go. I'll record a little bit of that real quick. Okay. Oop. Okay. This is about the most inefficient way. Actually, this is more inefficient than just switching screens. So I'll just do that instead. I apologize. There it is. Okay. So back in Ableton, this is our snare. And that's it with the flanger on top. I'll play you the last example. Yeah, so this is it with the flanger on top. And then if I take the flanger off, it's just that. So you get that kind of ringing on top of it, which I think is cool. Obviously, it's not the only thing you can do. Once you really get into, like what you want out of sound and you know how to get there really fast, you can do a whole lot of different stuff to things. If you want to turn this into like a willow type snare, just add like the 0 square distortion on it. Yeah, 0 square emulates like that resolution distortion you get in a lot of like bit crushing plugins. I don't really know what its like technical name is other than maybe like 0 square. Because it is like very much like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not too, intuitive when it comes to distortion types. But yeah, it's a fun one. It's a fun one. And then, we can do the same thing we did with the flanger, but with the phaser this time. You know, which I think is kind of fun. And then we can put the same distortion on it again. That's kind of cool. Ooh, that's kind of cool too. I like the attack of the snare more than anything. Yeah, and I'm just like messing around with different. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just messing with different distortion types and stuff like that. But yeah, so there's that. Other than that, you maybe just want to slap like a filter on it. Go to the effects filter, slap a reverb filter on it. Right now, I have the LFO from the elephant trunk LFO on it, so just kind of moving it around. And you can get like a lot of really cool, interesting timbres that way. Another thing you can do is just like add, oscillators doing weird shit over top of it.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. We can't see your serum window right now. We could before. I'm not sure what's.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I don't really know, so I can't stream the audio and show serum at the same time. And so I
Yeah, you're
keep
good.
kind of
Sorry.
flip-flop between the two. But I'll go back actually to being able to see entire screen for a sec
Yeah, sorry.
because no, you're good. You're good. I'll go back to that because I'm doing some synthy stuff again, anyways. So, this is a wavetable in Serum. It is a really funny one, and it's probably my favorite because it looks like that. You're probably thinking to yourself, what kind of funky wavetable looks like that, and what the hell does that sound like? And I'll tell you that it's just really high pitched. And it has a lot of really weird artifacts in it, and it is very cool and very bizarre. And I've never been able to make another wavetable like it. I've gotten close though, but yeah, it's a really funny one. Yeah, so sometimes I'll use that as like a source of like something when I'm doing like drum stuff, because it's so high pitch. I'll pitch it down a little bit and kind of like layer it over subtly. Um, but it depends. Really just depends on what I want out of a sound. In this case, this is just pretty basic, like whatever. And so like I don't see much point to it, especially not with this warp mode on it. Yeah, I'm just kind of messing. I really don't have a specific idea to do with that. But no issue. I mean, right now it's not really affecting the sound too much, but I will show you guys in a sec. I'm just gonna kind of like mess around here and make something kind of interesting with the techniques that I've talked about already. Maybe do this. That's cool. All right. That's a decent enough sound. Oh, another thing that I want to say is that I think, when you're making drums, sometimes you make a cool sound and then you do like 30 minutes of post processing to make it sound good and you fuck it all up. Um, so I will say that I think in the synthesis stage, for me at least, it's important to get things to sit nice and play nice there, in the box, um, before moving on. Just because, like, sorry, um, because post processing can fuck things up, and it's a little hard to stop yourself sometimes because you get on like a runaway train of like, oh, let's do this, and this, and that didn't do anything. So you try a bunch of other things, and then like the snare will just inevitably start sounding bad to you, maybe. So you just want to change it, and stuff like that. And I'll do that a lot in project files where I'll make a snare for it, mess with it for like 30 minutes and not like it anymore, and then delete it and do that like 3 or 4 more times. um it's it's a curse. It's a curse, but I will do that to this sound real quick and just make sure that like things sit where I want them to. Okay, maybe not this. Yeah, a little better. Okay, so this is a pretty basic one. Well, it's not super basic. This is like, your Daria core snare, if you will. Um, and then from here, I probably don't need to keep being in entire screen for a while. But I can talk about Serum again. She's gonna be annoying because this whole flipping nonsense. But yeah. So we have a snare. Here's what it sounds like. Pretty cool. Pretty neat. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, pretty basic like Daria core snare or whatever. And then from here, you just do a little bit of the post processing that you want to. Something that I do is I use Punch, which is spelled PANCZ, and I'm sure some of you know about it. But it's just a transient shaper plugin, and it has these nice like sort of like fresh air, by Slate Digital. They have these like these 2 knobs that just kind of brighten up the high end and crisp up the high end in a nice way. And Punch does a similar thing, and so I like it for both of those things.
Um, Another just random suggestion by me. If you also want like another like solid transient plugin that I personally like use kilohertz transient shaper a lot. Kilohertz. Kilohertz is goated. Shout out.
That one is good. It is good for very. I find that plugin to be very specific. And that's not a bad thing. Because I've used that one before. I've definitely, I've shopped around for many a transient shaper in my day. I have a couple actually, because I also have Native Instruments Transient Master, which is the Skrillex one. It is very chunky, and very a little less imprecise, because it is very old. But the thing that is nice about Kilohertz one is that it is very malleable in terms of what you do with it. Like you have a lot of control over how you affect the sound, which is very nice. And I have used it before to like if like beef up a sample usually. Let me look at it. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a cool one. The only thing that I don't like about it is that I feel like it's a little hard to dial in sometimes. because it's not like you get like a very good visual feedback response using it. So you really do just have to like listen to see if it's doing the thing you want it to do. And if you've already got like a sausage snare like this, it's a little hard to do that sometimes. But you know, to each their own. It is a very nice transient shaper that I like a lot. But snare from here. You know, we can pitch it around and stuff. This is my really secret sauce, DFX Scrubby. I would tell you how it works, but I honestly don't know. You just kind of fuck with it. And that's all there is to it. So something that I'll do with it, and this is another thing you can do with like, you know, with funky plugins. I do a lot of resampling in Ableton, and just so I can like mess with something and like capture those little moments in between. And this applies for stuff like Scrubby, but it also applies for like sometimes I'll do this thing in Serum where I'll just make like blurbs, which are just like, you know, a couple minutes of just me messing with a patch, sort of like using it like a modular, I guess, if you want to compare it to anything. And yeah, you know, I just record that out and record the sound profile that I get out of it, make a couple macros, mess with them, just do shit like that. And you get some interesting stuff out of it sometimes. But I digress. I'm just gonna record these real quick. Oh, that was cool. Yeah, some decent stuff in there. I think. I hope. We'll see. All right. Sounds cool.
So do you just think of a snare as like click body tail, or do you have like some people talk about like double pop? Is there any like special source you like to use in a snare? Like how do you like thinking about a snare when you're
Double.
designing it? Like some people will put like 2 pops in their snare.
2 pops. Like, how do you mean?
Like they'll have a noise layer that comes in slightly later than the first.
I mean, I sometimes do stuff like that. I mean, honestly, it depends. You know, if you want something more trappy, you want everything to happen all at once. At least in my experience. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't really think about it in the context of pops or anything like that. I mostly just like, I don't know. I usually just have like sound profile ideas in my head. Like sometimes I want a snare that's just like, you know, all body at first, and the noise kind of just like curves in, you know, just kind of like a doof or something like that. But even then, it's not. Everything is not always as it seems, because sometimes I'll just make the wave shape look really funky so that I get a little bit of transient out of my noise, but also then just like, you know, scoop it back in later. That probably didn't make a lot of sense. But all this to say that I guess, yeah, like I'll think about like the placement of things a lot, but not usually from a super technical perspective. It's usually just you know, I just like I hear a sound profile and I want to do that. Because at the end of the day, like it is synthesis. And I something that I hate a lot is like YouTubers who do like drum tutorial videos, and they do get super like they start to talk about it in a super like heady technical way. Because it's like, no, it's not like that. You know, like even if you're making like virtual riot like dubstep snares, never is it really that complicated. Like there's a video where he's talking about making them from like years ago, and he's like, yeah, sometimes I just sit and I make hundreds of them until I get a nice one. That's my virtual riot impression. I know it was really good. Uh, and the takeaway that I get from that is just like, okay, you don't know exactly what the fuck you're doing. You just kind of know what you want, and you mess with it until you get there. Like that's all that sounds like to me. Sorry, I don't know where that tangent of mine came from. But I think like because it is funny to think about. But I wouldn't say that I necessarily have like a go-to method in terms of like layering sound. And I feel like there really shouldn't be. Just because like you know, I feel like part of the fun of drum synthesis is just to figure out things that you like about doing it though. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that was very helpful answer or not. I apologize.
That was good.
But yeah, I think it is just one of those things where like um it helps more to just like think about it from a creative perspective than just like this is what I do every time. The noise should go here and the snare body should go here, or maybe there shouldn't be a body. Like like I never want to make it like this is your quick 15 steps simple easy method type deal. Because I feel like you don't do that with synth patches, um, unless you have like a very specific one in mind. But usually, if you want to make a sound yourself, you just kind of go do it. And I feel like it helps to look at drum synthesis in a similar way, and then just keep in mind some of the tech stuff along with it. Sorry, sound jump scare. But yeah. Yeah, Scrubby didn't do too much here. It's kind of unfortunate. Sometimes it'll really give you something, and sometimes you have to mess with it more, but in this case, I won't do that. I'll just kind of pick one. That one's kind of cool. Actually. But I mean, like, honestly, you could go through this process for like a long time. Like, say we kind of like something about this one, and there's things we want to change about it. We can go do that. Like, say I want the tail to be a little higher pitched. Take a frequency shifter, make it happen. Come on. There we go. Sweet. That kind of doesn't sound that great. But that happens a lot. Like, I don't know. I do like that one. I'll stick with that one. Yeah. This is about as good as it gets. And then from here, since I did all that dumb shit, gonna apply punch again just to brighten it up a little bit. And then maybe do some funny EQ work. Mm. All right. Decent enough. So, yeah, just kind of a funny little snare. And so that all is for naught. I will save this preset. And firstly, let me do. I'm gonna make a macro so you can make it a darter core snare if you want to.
I wish I had like my serum working because I'd probably use this like preset to shit. I should probably get another crack of serum because I have no money. Yeah.
Just don't
Yeah.
buy it. Don't buy it. I unfortunately bought it.
Get the rent to own. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got.
Actually, that's what I did.
don't
I
do
just
that.
paid it off like a year ago.
Yeah,
Real.
same.
I ended up
Also-
buying it.
It's like $8 a month.
Yeah.
Also, during your entire lecture, Tracy, I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna make snares along because like, yeah. And I made like 2 decent snares, I guess.
Word. Pretty sick.
up.
Very sick.
If anybody wants to see my snares, I would stream it if that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a couple more things probably.
Okay, go on.
But yeah, I mean, like, definitely. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, making a macro. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, let me put that on a macro too. Okay. Cool. Okay. Let me just save this as. Oh wait, let me do. Okay. Okay. Keep saying that and then keep working on it. Okay, so let's do basic. That's pretty cool. And then let me show Serum preset folder so I can give you guys that. All right, in voice overflow, I'm putting the preset. Everybody get ready. Ho 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 ho. User. Just have to find it. No, damn it. Oh, fuck. Why does my mouse betray me? Okay. Yeah, okay. Here it is. Why did I not send? There we go. Oh, I just sent it twice. My apologies. Discord was not scrolled down. Frozen flanger. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I'm catching up on chat. I apologize. Yeah. Char with the screenshot of the article. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I won't talk about Serum too much more. Just because, I talk about it a lot in, sorry, shameless plug, but I talk about it a lot in an article that I wrote for Splice. So, if you want to read up on some more interesting stuff about Serum, check that out. But I think, we can talk about like something like kicks now. I feel like snares feels like it takes up a lot of time just because like it is the thing that I think about, like, that I try to do the most with. Probably just because of like, that's you just make so many goofy sounds and call it your snare, But like, you know, there's other sounds in our drum kit. Say we want to make kick. You know, easy. I'm here to tell you it's easy. It really is just a numbers game with kick drums. Honestly. Especially if you want like very simple ones. It is very much just like I have a couple preset like defined or predefined things that I do to make a kick drum that I like. And they don't really stray too much off that path for the most part. Let's check this out. I think it's a decent start. And now I'll show you what I did. Probably would have been helpful. But yeah, so this is the patch of this kick drum that I just made. Pretty simple. A lot of the same techniques here, random all the way down. All that noise. I have this envelope on the master tune, and same with LFO 1. But this is an LFO that I like to play with the positioning of. A lot of the time, I'll just move this thing up and down until it sounds right, as opposed to finding the correct value. Because the nice thing about like when you map a modulation feature in Serum, it'll usually, if you're doing it on the pitch of any kind, it'll map it usually in like a range of 2 octaves. And so I like to just leave it there and then just kind of play within that range by like moving this shit around. And then, I'll mess with like the speed at which this pitch decay happens, because these two just make up the pitch decay of the kick. Which is so like, this envelope is for the initial like whack of it, and then this is sort of like a more like elongated one that sort of accentuates this one, but also, is its own thing. And I feel like that provides a lot of like nice impact. After that, we have some distortion, a little bit, not too much, just for, a little bit of knock at the beginning of the sound. And then, after that, I'm just using a compressor like a compressor. I didn't actually mess with it too much. We want to make it a little more specific and dialed in. We can do that. I do have another oscillator here. I think I'm going to turn it off though, because I don't like what it sounds like. But yeah, so I'll give you an example of what this kick sounds like real quick. Oh my god, that was so fucking loud. I have like 4 snares on top of each other. Okay. Okay. So, kick, drum, sound like that. Pretty basic. Yeah, but basic is good. Basic is good in this context, at least in my opinion. After that, we can do some funny things with it. Something that I like to do a little bit is add a really slight, noise source at the beginning of the kick, just to really like emphasize the knock. But like in this case, I'm doing it pretty slight. I shit you not. Sometimes I'll put a comb filter on a kick and have it like not be super high resonance or anything. And I'll mess with the positioning of it just so it accentuates like different body parts of the kick. Because when I look at like a kick, for example, like if I go to like, where is the fucking? There's too many freaking Ableton plugins. Yeah. So if we look at a kick, you know, we're seeing a lot of. This is a shit kick, so not a great example. But you know, we see enough here to break down what's happening. So there's over here below 100 hertz, obviously your sub range, which if you're making a big old dance music kick, pretty important to pay attention to. I like to have kicks that have a lot of sub in them, mainly because I use. I like my kicks to be really short and subby, but also knock really hard. And so it really is a delicate balancing act of getting the sub to come out, but also this above 100 knocky range to really sit right. And honestly, I don't even bother EQing it most of the time. Kicks are one of those things that I try not to EQ because it just feels like it messes with the sound of it too much. Even on a nice like EQ and stuff like that, like it feels like it's tough. It's annoying. So I try to just get it right in terms of like the processing, and like the actual synthesis of it. I just try to get that to sit right, and then maybe, I'll end up using an EQ for things like boosting the low end a little bit. And then from there, I feel like it's an art of just saturating. So like, do a little bit of that maybe. Don't really need this here anymore. Maybe a little bit of that.
I have a small question.
Yep.
Any good suggestions for like saturator plugins?
I think that's a good one. That is a good one.
That is a good one indeed.
Yeah, I honestly, I've always, and so like when I first started producing, I started using Logic, and then I made the switch to Ableton a couple of years ago. The one thing that I will say is that in all of that time, I think the thing that I bought the least of was distortion plugins. Because I think that like for a lot of cases, the stock shit was just what I was looking for. Like Logic Overdrive, stock Overdrive is really good. The fat effects, stock distortions in Logic are also really good. And then like the saturator in Ableton is good. I have some third-party stuff. Like your Fab Filter, Saturn, shit like that. Trash too. But honestly, the thing that at the end of the day, like the thing that I think helps the most when it comes to distortion is just knowing how to use the distortions you have effectively. Which is like which has been very huge for me. Like I use Overdrive as a tone shaper much less than I do as an actual distortion device. And it works wonders in that department, because you can add, little boost here, a little boost there. And if you use it subtly enough, you don't hear it as a distortion. You just kind of hear an overall tone difference, which is sick. It's awesome, And then, with Saturator, it does exactly what its name implies. I never use it as like a super. I mean, sometimes I do, but I tend to not use it as like a super over the top distortion device. I use it for its intended purpose. I use it to saturate. I use it to beef sounds up to make them a little bit more harmonically rich. Very rarely do I use that device to blow something out totally. If I was to do that, then I would definitely go to like Devilock.
I would go to like a hard clipper.
Yeah, like you can do that. One of my favorite hard distortion plugins is probably just Devilock by Soundtoys, because it is very crunchy. It also squeezes sounds. So like if you put it on like a drum break, it makes it sound very punky. It's very abrasive. I like it a lot. It is very hard to control though. And yeah, like you could do like, huh?
For like really harsh distortions, I just kind of use Fruity. Sorry, I mean like Destructor of FL Studio because I use FL Studio.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there you go. It's good to have your own. It's good to have your own arsenal. And again, I think the stock shit holds up just as fine as a lot of you know other shit out there. I mean, hell, I've had FabFilter Saturn for years, and it is my least used distortion plugin. It was such a weird investment to make at the time that I did. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. FabFilter Saturn is like FabFilter plugins are like fine. They're awesome. They're great at the things that they do. It just like I just don't have any use case for it usually because it's like this big fancy multiband distortion plugin, and it's like, what do you use multiband for? Oh, tone control. I have a tone controller right here. I know how to EQ things. Like I just EQ things when I need to, or I use a multiband compressor if I need to control one dynamic range more than another one. Like it's one of those things where it's like, there are a lot of fancy tools out there and it's cool, but there's not a lot of point in them once you learn how to use, some of the stuff you already have. You know, Mom, I want FabFilter Saturn. We have FabFilter Saturn at home. Audio effects. Ableton audio effects. Haha. Producer joke. I'm sorry. Anyways.
You're so funny.
Thanks. um Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. Woof. Woof. Oh, now shots are being fired. Oh, I didn't mean to imply that, but like.
Sorry, you got the joke wrong. There's a nuclear.
Oh. Legalize nuclear bombs. Sorry, that's all I got. But back to kick drum. Here it is. Am I on entire screen or am I on? No, I'm on Ableton. Okay. Right? You can hear this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sweet. So we have that. And watch me eat my words about this whole I have all this stuff already. Actually, no, wait, we're getting somewhere. Okay. Yeah, I'll say yeah. All right. And then I feel like I should just point to a crowd whenever I get to this point. Point to a bunch of people, have them go, punch! I don't know what I'm trying to reference with that, TBH. But yeah, I'm transient shaping it. What else is new? This is kind of not a great kick. I've made better in my day. Truthfully, I'm a little out of practice with kicks. Because I kind of find them the most annoying to make. But when you get them right, you get them right. And there's nothing like getting a kick right. Ooh. That's pretty good. Something else we can try to do is give it a little bit more on the top. Maybe we'll just dry wet that in. Yeah, that's cool. That's a real funny sound. Okay. Interesting. Oh, it's playing at the same time as that. Okay. Actually don't like that. That happens quite often when I'm doing this. I apologize. But I think we will save that there, and then how long is this? Ooh, chop that shit up. Gross. I usually like my kicks to be 110, 120 milliseconds. Around there. Yeah. I did all this processing, but I think honestly the big issue is really it's a little too long up here. Oh yeah. That's more what I'm looking for. Okay. Cool. Sweet. Fuck. Get rid of that. All right. And then we go through a similar process. Bear with me. Okay. Wow. Amazing. That was just what I wanted it to sound like from the get-go. I did all that work before. When I could have just made my life easier and made it. See, this is what I was talking about. Like, perfect example of get it right in the synthesis stage because you'll be scratching your head trying to make it sound better if you don't later on. And it sucks. But on the flip side, I always do recommend at some point you just got to flatten that shit to audio because, well, nobody likes, doing not only MIDI drums in a song, but having your drums just be synth presets that are unfrozen. Like, don't do that. Just take one sample. Just don't. I don't see a point. Well, actually, forget everything I just said because I can actually see use cases where that could be cool. That kind of makes this whole tangent obsolete. But, get it right the first time. Always. That is important. I feel like it's helpful to do that. But yeah, that's a pretty good kick. I'd say that's pretty good. So we have that. We have our snare. Where is she? Is it you? Oh, that was the kick from yesterday, and it sounds like ass. Okay. Well, there's the snare. Put that kick up there. We got a kick in a snare. Woo! Ooh. Give yourself a round of applause. And then take it all back. Just kidding.
Yay, woo, yay.
Cool. Those are pretty cool. Make a fucking I don't know, hybrid trap Daria core song with it. Sick. Whatever.
Question:
But yeah.
Are you gonna export these like presets that you made in this lecture and put them in the flow or like?
Yeah. So the snare I've already done. The snare is up in voice overflow. I'll send it again.
I know, like the serum. I was like talking about like the processed snare or like whatever.
Okay. The sound clip itself. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a little slow today.
Nah, it's fine. I totally understand.
But yeah, totally. I can just do that right now.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Dari Tut snare. And I'll say bonk, tut, kick. Sweet. Okay. M saturator. Oh yeah, M audio stuff. M audio stuff is pretty cool. I don't mess with it much, but definitely. Finally cracked serum. Shout out Gorgie. Shout out. Is Gorgie even? Yeah, Gorgie is here. Okay, I'm not just yelling at the chat. Okay, but the kick and the snare are in the voice overflow. Nice gif. Yeah, does anybody have any like questions about anything? It doesn't have to be snare or drum related. Like, does anybody want to know anything? Because I don't know.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, first of all, do you own the kilohertz plugin bundle?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Have you
have the suite, like the free suite.
Yeah. Like, have you ever used like the distortion plugin with like quantize like on a kick or something?
Well, we can do that right now. Oh yeah. This is sort of like the zero square distortion stuff that I was thinking of in Serum. Yeah. No, it's actually funny cuz yeah, I haven't had I didn't know that it did this. But that's interesting that it does cuz Logic stock it has a bit crusher in it that has a resolution knob that does this as well. And I just didn't know I did. Like I've seen things do similar things, but I didn't know that kilohertz had a setting for that. So that's nice. Thank you for that. Interesting. Yeah, you could probably make like a Kong out of that or something. I use this kind of distortion when I'm making like hard style kicks. But usually just in Serum. But yeah, very cool. Does anyone want to know? Wait. Why can't I hear myself?
It's my bad. I have my monitors on. But I was just gonna ask, like, so you use Panch a lot, but I find that like really fucks up the low end of samples, especially if you compress it a lot. Like, do you ever EQ after Panch, or do you just like leave it as is?
I'm honestly, I don't usually. And it does, but sometimes it does fuck up my low end, and I forget to compensate for it. The thing that I honestly do is I am kind of just like, I just kind of try to compensate for it as much as possible. And something that I think is important with transient shaping in general is like you're not going to get a sound to immediately sound good, like a drum sound to sound good by just slamming it through a transient shaper. The thing that I think is the most important is getting the tonal balance right before it goes in. So that if you want like a really gutty, beefy snare with a big old stinky transient, made out that's like really bassy and like a big old dubstep snare or something like that, you're gonna want to run the body of the snare super hot into the not super hot, but hotter than the actual noise into your transient shaper, so that you get that sort of clarity down there and it sort of impacts that sound. But also, it's not just like a one or the other scenario. Like, it is about the balance, because if you do it too hot, then it might start giving you artifacts and like overtones that you don't like. I mean, you probably already know all this, but like I think kicks are very similar. Where I made this kick, and then I was processing it for a little bit, and then put punch on it. Still didn't sound good, so I had to go back and redo some synthesis stuff, and then that made it sound good finally. And it's just stuff like that, really. And I try never to run punch super hot. I just try to make something beefy first, and then run it through punch as sort of like a an additional thing as opposed to like the saving grace of the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, do you mess with like the dry wet knob? Because I always leave it at 100, but
The dry wet in Punch sucks.
yeah, I agree. It's so bad.
It's just like, oh, it sucks. And it's the same with the dry wet on the multiband and Serum. Just sucks. They both suck, and I don't know why, but like I know somebody who like uses them all the time, and I'm like, do you not hear that? Like it gets all phasey. They're not properly like the audio channels aren't properly synced up, so it just like it becomes like a phasey mess. I hate it.
Okay, good to know. Like, I didn't know if there was like a secret to using the dry wet in that plugin, or if it was just awful. But it's
Yeah, I
good to
know.
know.
Yeah, I would just say run it a little, run it less. Don't run it super hot. Also, I don't know. I never use the multiband mode in it. There is a multiband in Punch. I don't use it. I don't find it very useful. I find the most useful, the most useful things about it are the New York compression knob, and then the air knobs, the high end knobs, and then like the actual transient shaping themselves. And sometimes the limiter, because it's a decent limiter. But yeah, it's a funny device. It's a very funny device.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Is there going to be another one where you touch on like hi hats and stuff?
Oh, I can do that right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll mute again.
Yeah. Hi-hats, I'll do it in wavetable so you can actually see what I'm doing for once. Also because this is probably like this can be super ergonomic. And so like again, you can make hi-hats any which way. A way that I quite like is to try to mimic the 808 style hi-hat. And I figure what better way to do that than to kind of mirror the process. So a little sound design theory for everybody. The TR-808 hi-hat is actually just 6 square waves stacked on top of each other at different intervals. And then all of them are high passed a little differently. And that is the sound of like the 808 hi-hat. That's the sound of the cymbals. It's just square waves, which is really funny because it's just like such an interesting concept. Like you just have like take a square wave, high pass it, you get all these upper harmonics, and then you just stack other square waves at different ratios on top of it, which sort of accentuate other harmonics when they line up with each other. And you just get like, completely different sound that doesn't sound like it could be anything like that. So it's really cool. But, not all of us have synths where you can just stack 6 oscillators on top of each other. So something that I like to do is that I'll just take, like a complex waveform of some kind, and then I'll just FM it, and I'll do it twice. So we have one here. Make it pretty not super tonal. Take another one, do the same thing. Maybe pitch this one up. And then split. Make these both high pass filters. And then probably just do like 150. I'm setting up 2 envelopes to use with the 2 envelopes to put on the different filters. So already that's pretty cool, you know. Maybe tighten this up, make it a little shorter. That's cool. You know, just a neat little thing to do. Obviously, you know, it's a little. We live in a world far removed from, not super far removed, but you know, I
We
don't know
live
about
in an
you.
ecosystem.
We live in an ecosystem. I don't always want necessarily the 808 type hat design. So, you know, sometimes we'll use it as a base. I think it's a good jumping off point. But you know, we can get a little funnier with it. I like putting phasers on hats, not for like the tail or anything like that. I just think that it gives it an interesting timbral quality because you can really just like change how something sits, you know, just by messing around with it. Let me do 2. Like already we got something right here, you know? Ooh. Pretty cool. I think that that's pretty cool. Yeah. Take that. Got a little sound here. Kind of dinky. We can beef it up a little bit. You know, compress it a little bit. Shout out OTT. Maybe do a little bit more frequency shifting. Am I even... Oh, that doesn't help. Not even listening to the damn sound. And it's quiet now, but we will fix this. That's pretty cool. Maybe a little more... Yeah. All right. Like, that's pretty decent, you know? Nothing crazy here. Obviously, you can, like, pitch it around a little bit. Let's maybe mess with some of the EQ a little bit. Really accentuate the frequencies that we want. I kind of do like that one right there. That's pretty cool. Maybe pitch this up a little bit more. Ooh, like that one. Like where that sits. But yeah, you know, just a little blippy, clicky hi-hat. Nothing super intricate about that one. Honestly, sometimes hi-hats for me are very much just like a turn your brain off activity. Because you can just like you can get like a bunch of different like funny ones just from doing like funny things. Like you could just like I don't know, go get a Splatoon sound. And just like, I don't know. Fuck with it. Fuck you. There we go. And then just like take a part of this. Do some funny stuff.
You should have done this with the chisel pack.
The huh?
The chisel pack.
Are you not aware of the chisel pack?
I
don't think she knows about the chisel pack.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Oh,
Wait,
no,
someone
so-
sent
so-
out
so
a
you know
chisel
just
pack
like
again
the
for-
chisel pack.
Oh wait,
Everyone
hey,
shut the
hey!
fuck
One person at a time, please.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so you know.
Oh.
Wait, hold on. I think that person should be Danny.
Hey guys, hey guys, hey.
What?
Well, I think hi guys.
Wait.
What?
Okay.
Hi.
So I guess I should explain this.
I don't know. I was just trying to say filler while like other 6 people were talking.
Okay,
You're a bit late.
whoever asked
Bar!
the question.
So the chisel
I
pack.
asked the question. I'll
Wait,
let Daddy
wait.
explain. I'll let Daddy explain.
Yeah, so a few months ago, like back in September, it like Chuzzle became a huge fucking bit in this server. And it was because of me, because I was playing the game in stream, but like the following day I made a sample pack of all of the sounds and loops in the game. If you want it, I can send it to you.
You know what chisel is, right,
Wait,
Tracy?
No, I don't know what chisel is.
Oh.
It's like a Connect 3 kind of game by PopCap.
Wrong.
It is not Connect 3. It
Alright.
is Connect any number above 3.
Okay, so it's like Candy Crush, but you slide the rows around instead of swapping pieces. You slide the rows.
Yeah.
Not
It's-
gonna lie.
It's also
It's really
like made
fun.
by PopCap.
Hang on, I own Chuzzle.
the
I
people
could
that
stream
made,
Chuzzle.
the people that made Plants vs Zombies, so you know it's good.
Oh wait. Yeah, I
You
think.
play Plants vs Zombies. It's that one game with the plants and the zombies.
No, I think Jerma played Chuzzle. I don't know.
Wait, really?
I don't know.
Huh?
Wait,
Maybe I'm-
did German do that? Neuron
Maybe I'm
activation.
thinking. Maybe I'm thinking of Peggle.
Peggle?
Oh yeah,
German and Chuzzle
Peggle
so
is
fucking
also
high on it.
PopCap.
Zombie
But-
ops thought
Yeah.
games are built up the plant cells.
I
I'm
played
just
fucking
gonna-
Bejeweled, so
Yeah. I'm just gonna drop this in voice overflow. You're free to use it if you want.
we're.
Base Chisel Pack user.
Let me see. Real quick, I don't remember where I was going with this actually. I was just kind of like fucking around. I mean, already we got like a
Is
hi-hat
Chuzzle?
out of that.
Chuzzle?
Huh? Are you still saying Chuzzle? Are these words even in the Bible?
I feel like trap money, Chuzzle.
Yeah, I don't think that these words are. I don't think these are real things that you guys are saying.
Have you heard of Chisel Talk by Popstar Pat?
I'm going to pass away.
That's a crazy response. So have
Guys,
you
I
heard
think
of this song?
Yeah.
I think
Music
we're
makes me pass away.
I think we're slowly killing Tracy Breaks.
I mean, this is just
All it
what
took
I
was
get.
one mention of Chuzzle.
Real talk, she's like just woken up and we're bombarding her with words
Hang
like
on.
Chuzzle.
Hang on. Someone say kill Tracy. Hang on, I'm getting out the silly guy.
I mean, I guess this is what I deserve for killing everybody in Area 51. What is your Steam? No. No, don't buy me Chuzzle. Wait,
Yes,
broken.
by her Chuzzle.
I literally would not be able to without permission because I would have to have your Steam, but
True.
I am willing.
No, don't. I don't need people to spend $5 on little old me. I don't know why I said it like that.
I spent $20 on the splice pack because I didn't have enough credits. I had to buy more because I wasn't waiting a month. I'm willing to do this. Trust.
No, you didn't need to do that either.
I did. I did.
The spice stuff too. Like the other day, that was not a good decision.
Oh well, thank
I
you.
regret nothing.
Hang on.
Yes, you do. Don't lie.
Is this what you people want? Is this what you people want?
Yup.
We want chisel. We want chisel.
Who up chuzzling this?
Those are
Puzzle shit got uncontrolled.
What the fuck?
Click on Sweet Relief.
Ah!
Wait, these are actual sound effects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these
didn't
were
know
all
that was
taken
really good.
from the game files.
I like skimmed over some of these like a week ago. I didn't know that a burping noise was it.
These are
Yeah,
crazy.
It's like so like
attention,
with the large chisels, if you click on them enough, they burp. And the smaller ones will explode and lose all their hair.
Game
will grow
developers
back.
fucked up in the head. Game developers fucked up in the head. Why would you make the chisel explode?
Because
Trauma.
it's fun to watch it ask you to stop.
Yo, Cherry, have you never
And it
played like that
explodes.
one game called Poo just to make that guy suffer and starve and neglected?
Is that guy that
What?
looks like a
No.
beanbag a little bit?
It looks like a
It's-
poo. That's why it's spelled. That's why
Oh, then
it's
I'm
called
thinking of the
poo.
wrong thing.
Cherry.
Oh no, I can't believe I've thought of the wrong thing, guys. However, will we punish me?
I'm gonna spread falsehoods about you on the internet. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Me when I spread peanut butter on the internet.
No, I have an allergy.
No.
What? Wait, Terry, are you actually allergic to peanuts?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay.
Oh, it'd be
Aw.
funnier if you were.
It would be. It would be. It would be.
Boom.
You would take personal gain in laughing at my misfortune.
Excuse me. No, I'm allergic to grass. You need to be laughing at me. Actually,
Fuck.
I'm clinically allergic to
Awesome
grass.
stuff, traceybrakes.
Huh?
Jay-Z.
Awesome stuff.
Oh yeah.
traceybrakes.
Does anybody have any more questions?
Do
Yeah.
you have the Blissum Gold pack?
Claire-
It's only my third day out here. I don't know.
Awful. Fucking awful.
Oh, I got a
Wait,
question.
give
My third day
me
out.
this.
Oh, somebody had a question.
Tracy, would you ever do an FM8 demo?
Yes, probably. I'm honestly not that great at it. But I can definitely try. I can't say that it'll be super useful outside of just like knowing how to use it. But yeah, I can.
We
I
should
can
get
probably-
Bio in here because she's like really good at citrus.
That's true. Yeah,
Oh,
No,
Biolux would be ridiculous.
Bio is definitely one of the best synth heads, citrus synth heads there is.
Why is the
No
quotes
kidding.
channel just been bombarded?
I have another question.
Oh no, that's from yesterday. I just... Why is there
It's
so
like-
much Patrick
it's like
Bateman?
since-
What the fuck is all your problems?
It's like I don't know how Ableton works, but like, actually, never mind. Never mind. It's like I've tried this myself. Like when I put like a frequency shifter, like kilohertz frequency shifter, like frequency down before like the kilohertz distortion with quantize, it sounds really fucked up, but like in a good way.
Yeah. Sorry. Ah. Well, so essentially what you're doing is like when you put a frequency shifter all the way down, you're just shifting. Since you're just shifting all of you're shifting frequencies.
I mean, I didn't mean all the way down. I meant like 300 hertz down. Like when I did it on 808 kick, it sounded like fucked up. Like it sounded high pitched somehow.
Well, probably because depending on whatever sample you were using, there were probably maybe artifacts within the sample that when you frequency shifted it down, the frequency shifter brought with it. But also, alternatively, it could have been an effect of the quantized distortion, because it does sort of give it like a lot of high ends in sort of like a bit crushy way. But let me get like a nice sub sound to mess with real quick. And just see. C shifter, where are you? There you are. That. So we got these two. .808 is playing right now. That's kind of a funny impulse, actually. This is an interesting way to get impulses.
I mean, like I can't hear, but now I can. Oh, now I can.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the thing that is really going on is that sorry. So when you pitch it using the frequency shifter to pitch the 808 down is making the sub part inaudible because you're pitching it to a range that people can't hear, but it's still there. And so, or what's happening really is that it's still there, and because of by nature of how a frequency shifter works, if you pitch it far enough, it'll really start to it'll ring back on itself and sort of add like inharmonic values to whatever sound you're pitching. And so it's adding those inharmonics on the top of this inaudible waveform. So you can't hear it, but all that stuff is there, because it's just so far down. And then when you're distorting it with quantize, you're basically just taking those sounds and adding a shit ton of harmonics to it, and you're filling the audible frequency spectrum with those harmonics. But because there's such low waves that are messing with each other that are causing these harmonics to exist in the first place, you're getting this really like warbly, fucked up mess, and just like a bunch of noise. At least that's probably my best theory as to how this is happening. But yeah, it's a funny sound. It truthfully is. Yeah. That's a funny one. But I hope that was... Sorry if that was just an unneeded tangent, but it is a neat trick. Well...
I guess if no one else has any questions, we can thank Tracy for the awesome lecture. That was very awesome.
Thank you,
Professor
Tracy.
Breaks.
That was
Professor Breaks.
Hey,
Thank you. That was really sick.
That
was
was
very
so
awesome.
don't
sick
go.
and
Don't
so
go. I have
long.
one last.
Hell yeah.
Oh wait, hold on.
What?
Charles has a
Thanks.
question.
Yeah,
Charles
go
Michael.
for it.
It's not a question. I just want you to hear this. I mean this as sincerely as possible. You are such a good lecturer, teacher, professor. I can tell that you're very charismatic and obviously passionate about your craft. You're funny, and I love the way that you talk about music. This was a really insightful lecture, and I'm glad I stuck around for it. Thank you, Tracy, and really thank you, and also thank you, Blissum, for pinging me for this.
Yeah, I've learned like so much from this lecture. So if you're like thinking like, oh damn, ain't nobody gonna like learn anything from this, at least I like learned some shit, you know? Shout out.
Thank you very much.
I gotta go to sleep. It's like 10, 12 p.m. I got school tomorrow.
go
I'm
to
totally
bed.
gonna miss my fart. That's that.
Oh, it might.
Cool. Awesome.
I
Thank
mean,
you so
this
much, Tracy.
is sad, but I
Of
really
course.
want to see it live because it's funny.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking through it, and thank you for the kind words. That means the world to me. I appreciate it.